Hey guys, Rob Case here. Did you know that when we surf, on average, we're paddling approximately 60% of the time? Of the active time moving between paddling and riding, paddling makes up about 85% of that. And of that 85%, only about 5% of the time is us paddling to actually catch a wave. To give you some perspective, in a 2.5-hour session, we're paddling to catch a wave for only 4.5 minutes out of the whole session. But those 4.5 minutes are pretty important to us. I mean, without that, we couldn't get to do what we really want to do, which is to ride the wave for the 12 minutes of riding time. So here are the top 5 paddling techniques you should use to catch a wave. Number 1, use the deep catch stroke pattern. There are 2 types of stroke patterns we all use. One is used for energy conservation, in other words, that other 95% of the paddling we're doing. And one is used for quick bursts of speed, like when we're catching a wave or trying to avoid getting caught inside. Recently, a study conducted by a mechanical engineer at Johns Hopkins University found that there is a stroke pattern which provides more thrust than the traditional sculling stroke, or the S-stroke, as it's also known as. And his results are also in line with studies conducted by Ernie McGlisco, who is a renowned swim coach and researcher. Now, the engineer called the stroke pattern the deep catch, and he describes the motion as being straight back, like a paddle. And there's also very little break in the elbow, so the hand goes very deep in the water, hence the name deep catch. The study, however, was conducted with Olympic caliber swimmers, so many of the critics say the study was not properly set up for regular swimmers, that the results really only apply to highly fit swimmers. And there is some validation to this point, but only in regards to the health of the shoulder. As you can imagine, using a straight arm stroke causes a great deal of stress on the rotator cuff muscles and other stabilizing muscles in the shoulder during the lift phase, as well as in the release phase of the underwater arm stroke. That is where most people caution against using a deep catch pattern. Something interesting to note is that when you're looking at the computer models from underneath, you can see that despite his explanation of it being a straight back pattern, there's still a little S curve to the motion. It's just not as emphasized as the regular S stroke pattern. Now, for our application in surfing paddling, using the deep catch pattern is beneficial in short distances only. Usually when you need quick bursts of speed, when you need the most thrust per stroke. And can you think of any scenarios where a surfer would need a burst of speed? Right, when we're catching a wave or when we need to avoid getting a set taken on the head. So the deep catch pattern has a higher thrust per stroke, but it takes more strokes to get to your destination. So it's not an energy conserving stroke. It is a powerful stroke that needs to be used with caution initially until you build up the arm strength to use it more often. Now, what if I know my arm muscles are not ready for this stroke? In that case, when catching a wave or when you need a burst of speed, use one of the following techniques to break that initial zero velocity. So instead of starting at 0 and strictly using your arms to develop that burst of speed, you can do one of 2 things. 1, use the S stroke to get started, then change into the deep catch when you really need the extra thrust. This is most likely what will happen if you stroke in a position from another location in the lineup to catch a wave. Or if you're already in position, starting from a complete standstill, submerge the board slightly, and when you feel the buoyancy about to bounce back up, breaststroke kick forward and begin paddling using the deep catch pattern to catch the wave. This one certainly takes a lot more practice and is more advanced. But using the techniques I just outlined will reduce the pressure on those stabilizing muscles, on those rotator cuff muscles. Most of the pressure comes from the initial movement to gain speed and momentum. But if you use either of the 2 techniques I just described, you'll have a bit of speed and momentum generated already, and that will take most of the stress off the shoulders.